Hello, my students in grade 7. This is a mathematics lecture, and in this lecture, the title is Signed Numbers, Addition and Subtraction. Then we will talk about multiplication and division. What are the objectives of our lecture? Number one, we will identify signed numbers. 2, use and locate signed numbers on a numerical axis. 3, recognize the opposite of a signed number. Number 4, learn and use the rules of addition and subtraction of integers or signed numbers. Number 5, apply rules of order of operations to calculate a numerical expression. How do we use the PEMDAS with signed numbers? Identify signed numbers. Of course, when we talk about a signed number, this number might be preceded by a plus or a minus. If there's a plus, then it's a positive signed number. If we have a minus, then it is a negative signed number. For example, positive numbers plus 3 plus 8 plus 10.5 plus 0.007 plus 5 over 8. So the number can be whole, can be decimal, or can be a fraction. Negative numbers minus 2, minus 9, minus 11, minus 0.6, minus 12.5, minus 1 over 5. If a number has no sign, then it should be positive. So only a positive number, we can write it without a sign, but the negative number should be written with a sign, with the minus. For example, if you see 7, this means plus 7. If you see 10, this means plus 10. 13 plus 13, 0.4 plus 0.4, etc. Between all the numbers that we know, 0 is the only number which is at the same time positive and negative. So 0 has no sign. We should never write a plus 0 or a minus 0. We should always write only 0. Number 2, learn, use and locate signed numbers on a numerical axis. What do we mean by the numerical axis? A numerical axis is a number line. It is a line, it is drawn horizontally, where positive and negative numbers are related with respect to 0. So if you look at this numerical axis, here we have the 0, and to the right of the 0, we have all the positive numbers. To the left of the 0, we have all the negative numbers. So if you look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. You see here, we didn't write a plus. This means these are positive numbers. Here are the negative numbers. So 0, as you can see, it is written without a plus or a minus because it's not a positive nor a negative. All the points on the axis, which we locate here, they have a number that represent each point. This number is its abscissa. For example, if I put a point A here, and I asked about the abscissa of A, where is A located? So the abscissa means the location of A on the axis. On which number is A located? A is located on the left side, so it's negative. I start counting from 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, so the abscissa of A is minus 3. This is how we write the abscissa. We do not write A equal minus 3, we write minus 3 between parentheses. What's the abscissa of 0? The abscissa, here, the origin of the axis, which is the 0. So the abscissa of O is 0. For example, what's the abscissa of B, or where is B located? It's located on the positive side, so the abscissa of B is 2. So the distance between the any 2 points, if I wanted to know the distance between point O and B, it is 2. Between point O and A, it is a 3. Always the distance should be positive, it's never negative. Let's practice this numerical axis. Given the numerical axis, we should locate O on the 0. So where is the location of O? I look on the 0 number here. I write an X on the 0 and I write its name O. M is located on the minus 4. Minus 4 is on the left side, so I put it here. I write an X, so this is where M is located. N is located on the 5, the positive 5. Always we should write an X on the number where the point is located. P is located on the +2, so here is P. S is located on the -7. And sorry, and R is located on the 9 on the positive side. Now we should find the abscissas of these points. Where is A located? If I look at A is located on the negative side. It's located on the -1. So how do we write it? We write -1 between parentheses. B is located here on the +7. So we write B is located on the +7, so the abscissa of B is 7. C is located on the -5, so the abscissa of C is -5. D is located on the -10, and E is located on the +3, so the abscissa of E is 3. Now let's find the distance between A and M. I will count 1, 2, 3. So the distance between A and M is 3. We write it positive. Let's find the distance between P and S. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the distance is 9. The distance between O and C, the distance OC, I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the distance is 5. RN, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the distance is 4. PD, so the distance is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I count the spaces between the points. Now let's talk about opposite of signed numbers. Every positive number located on the axis has an opposite negative number, and every negative number has an opposite positive number. Any two opposite signed numbers, they have the same number, but they have different signs. So the opposite of a +6, it is -6. So we have the same numbers, but the opposite of positive is negative. Opposite of -5 is +5. Opposite of 3, which means +3, is -3. What's the opposite of 0? It is 0 because it's not signed. Now, opposite of a +4. First, I ask about the opposite of a +4. It's -4. So what is the opposite of -4? It's +4. Let's do this as a practice. Let's find the opposites. Opposite of a +5 is having the same numerical part 5, but a different sign, which is -5. Opposite of -7 is, yes, +7. Opposite of 2 is -2. Opposite of -12 is 12. Opposite of 0, 0, since it has no sign, so the opposite of 0 is 0. Now, opposite of -1. First, I ask about the opposite of -1 is +1. So what's the opposite of +1? It is -1. Opposite of +6. The opposite of +6 is -6. So what's the opposite of -6? It is 6 or +6. Opposite of 3. What's the opposite of 3? It's -3. So what's the opposite of -3? It is 3. Opposite of -13. What's the opposite of -13? It's +13. So what's the opposite of 13? It's -13. This is how we find the opposite of signed numbers. Now, we will talk about the rules of addition and subtraction of integers. If I am adding two signed numbers, first, in between them, there should be a plus. This means I'm adding. I might be adding signed numbers having the same sign. I might be adding a positive number with a positive number. So the sign of my answer will be positive, and we add both numerical parts. If I'm adding a negative with a negative, also my answer will be negative, and I add both numbers. If I am adding different signs, for example, a positive number with a negative number or a negative number with a positive number, here the sign of the result depends on the sign of the greatest number between both, and we subtract the answer to get the result. Subtraction of signed numbers. Here we have to follow steps. We write the first number as it is, then we change minus into plus, and we write the opposite of the second number. Let's do a practice. For example, if I'm adding two signed numbers that are positive, so my answer will be positive. 5 plus 7 is 12. 9 plus positive 4. The sign of 9 is positive. So positive and positive is positive. 9 plus 4 is 13. Negative 9 plus negative 2. So my answer will be negative, and we add 9 plus 2 is 11. Negative 4 plus negative 3. Negative plus negative is negative, and 4 plus 3 is 7. For example, if I'm adding different signs, minus 8 plus 11. This is negative and this is positive. So who's the greatest, 8 or 11? Of course, it's 11. What's the sign of 11? It's positive. So my answer will be positive, and I subtract both numbers. 11 minus 8 is 3. Let's do another example. 5 plus negative 7. Since I have a positive number and a negative number, I ask about the greatest. Of course, 7 is the greatest and its sign is negative. So my answer will be negative, and I subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. And you continue the others. We have a very important rule in addition and subtraction. If we add two opposite numbers, the answer will be 0. So if I'm adding a positive 2 with a negative 2, it's 0. If I'm adding a negative 11 with a positive 11, my answer is 0. Let's talk about subtracting signed numbers. Positive 3 minus positive 6. Since we have minus, we cannot subtract. So we say we keep the first number plus 3 as it is. We change minus into plus, and we write the opposite of the second number. Now we are back to addition. I have a positive number added to a negative number. Who's the greatest? It is 6, and its sign is minus. So 6 minus 3 is 3. Here, as you can see, I have done an exercise for you to practice more. You should practice this exercise on draft to understand the concept of the lesson or the steps more. So here you have a solved exercise to practice alone. Now, how do we apply the rules of order of operation to perform a numerical expression using PEMDAS? For example, I have this sentence. I cannot perform it in one step. So I take each two numbers or each two integers beside each other. Since we have all the signs are plus, we are adding these numbers. Then we start from left. Plus 5 plus minus 6. We say I'm adding two signed numbers having different signs. So the greatest is 6 and its sign is minus. So my answer will be minus, and I subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1, and all the other numbers, I write them as they are. Then I start with the first two. Minus 1 plus positive 10. Also, I have different signs, and the greatest is 10, so my answer will be positive. 10 minus 1 is 9, and all the others go down. As you can see, the numbers I'm taking, I draw a line under them to say which numbers I'm performing. If we have addition and subtraction, we always start our calculation, as you can see, from left. Also down here, you have an exercise solved for you that you can practice on draft. Now, signed numbers, multiplication and division. How do we multiply or divide signed numbers? Let us start with the multiplication rule. To multiply two integers, what are the steps? We multiply the sign times the sign, then the number times the number. It's very easy and simple. For example, if I am multiplying a positive with a positive, the answer will be positive. A negative with a negative, the answer will be positive. So when I am multiplying two signed numbers having the same signs, always my answer sign will be positive. If I am multiplying a positive with a negative or a negative with a positive having different signs, always my answer will be negative. And also here we have an example, positive 13 times positive 5. I say positive times positive is positive, 3 times 5 is 15. Negative 2 times negative 6, negative times negative is positive. I can write it or I cannot write it, as I said. 2 times 6 is 12. Negative 4 times 1, negative times positive is negative, and 4 times 1 is 4. For example, 9 times 4, positive times positive is positive, and 9 times 4 is 36. Also here you have solved exercises for you to practice more. I solved this exercise. Let's look at this sentence here. 6 times negative 3 times 5 times negative 1. What do we say? Positive times negative is negative. Negative times positive is negative. Negative times negative is positive. And I multiply all the numbers. 6 times 3 times 5 times 1. The answer is 90. Now we go to the rule of division of integers or signed numbers. What is the rule to divide two integers? To divide two integers, we divide the sign by the sign, then the number by the number. It's similar to multiplication. So if I am dividing a positive by a positive, the answer will be positive. A negative by a negative, the answer will be positive. A positive by a negative or a negative by a positive, my answer will be negative. Division can be written in two ways, as you can see. I can write a divided sign between the signed numbers, or I can write the signed numbers as a fraction, because the fraction is a second way to write division. Positive over positive is positive, negative over negative, of course it's positive. This is a typing mistake. So here we have, it is positive, and positive over negative is negative, negative over positive is negative. And here we have a solved exercise. As you can see, I solved this exercise, of course, to practice. I have negative 32 over 4. I say negative over positive is negative, and 32 over 4 is 8. Now, negative 35 over negative 5. Negative over negative is positive, and 35 over 5 is 7. 2 over 5, positive over positive is positive. 2 over 5 is 0.4. Of course, you can get your answer using a calculator. 3 over negative 10, positive over negative is negative, and the 3 over 10 is 0.3. You can continue solving this exercise. So this was our lesson for the coming week. It is very easy. You have seen this lesson last year in grade 6. This is just a reminder of a very important truths that we learned last year. So please watch this video well, and if you have any question, contact me. Thank you.